All right, good afternoon, everyone, and happy solstice. We're going to give folks just a few minutes. I apologize for starting late. We'll give folks just a couple more minutes to join today's meeting before we get started. So it's 3:34. I think we should start in just 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and mute, and we'll be right back to open up the meeting or get moving with the presentation. So unmute here. It is 3:36. I think we should go ahead and get ourselves started with today's LEAP meeting. This is for the month of December. So my name is Kristen Neville. I'm the director of the County of Mendocino's Cannabis Department. And with us today, helping us administer this webinar today and manage all the streaming and do all the uploading to the website is Trish Tracy. So happy to have Trish join us. We also have Noah, who is the web developer for the Elevate Impact team, and we'll be doing a full review and walkthrough of the application platform, as well as the budget and receipt reconciliation platform today. And then we also have Ms. Paula Groves with us today, who is I don't know if we'd call you the principal for Elevate Impact, but Paula is the leadership of Elevate Impact and keeps all of the pieces moving forward for both us and the Elevate team. So we're happy to have everyone with us today. So thank you everyone for your patience as we get started here. And again, happy solstice to everyone. We're wrapping up that shortest day of the year. Let's go ahead and move the slides forward. So agenda, as I mentioned, we'll kind of do a quick run through of funding sources, program statistics, real brief updates. But we're really going to focus today on letting Noah take us for a test drive of the application portal and the budget and the receipt reconciliation portal that he's developed on behalf of the Elevate Impact team. We're super fortunate to have those tools available to us here in Mendocino County. Paula, do you want to take on some of these slides? Do you want me to walk through them?
Sure. Sure, I'd be happy to jump in. Great. Thank you, everybody, and happy holidays. I hope everybody's enjoying the festivities that seem to be going around. This slide really outlines the LEAP funding sources that we have available to us for distribution. The first line represents direct grants and workforce development grants. Round 1 funds totaled $1.096 million. Round 2 funds totaled $565,000. Round 3 funds totaled $1.9 million for a combined funding amount of $3,563,000. The waiver program and the state licensing permit fee program. Round 1 funds totaled $700,000. Round 2 funds totaled $100,000. Round 3 totaled $663,000 for a combined funding amount of $1.433 million. Technical assistance, which represents technical assistance training to equity applicants regarding licensing and operating in the cannabis industry. Round funds totaled $224,000. Round 2 funds totaled $83,000. Round 3 funds totaled $294,000 for a combined funding amount of $602,000. And then finally, administrative services, including county staff and outside consultants. Round funds totaled $224,000. Round 2 funds totaled $83,000. Round 3 funds totaled $115,000 for a combined funding amount of $423,000. Next slide, please. In terms of our each LEAP eligibility statistics, as of December 2022, we've certified 219 applicants as LEAP eligible, and 326 folks to date have completed LEAP eligibility applications. In terms of LEAP statistics with regards to the direct grant programs, as of the beginning of this month, 44 grants have been issued to date for a total of $2.1 million. 18 grants have been approved and are in cobblestones, totaling $892,000. In terms of the fee waiver program, 433 fee waivers have been awarded, totaling $554,000, and the remaining balance in the fee waiver program is $878,000. With respect to technical assistance, less round 1 and 2 funding reallocation, which totaled $307,000, leaving us a remaining balance in technical assistance of $294,000. In terms of administrative services, the contractor administrative totals to date is $294,000. There has been $13,000 allocated to a part-time department analyst through May of 2021, leaving a remaining balance of $115,000. In terms of fee waivers that have been issued to date, the fee waiver amount, the fee waiver type is shown on the left. For the Department of Ag, 21 fee waivers were issued, totaling an amount of $2,600. As of November, there were 22 waivers issued, totaling $2,700. For the Planning and Building Services Department, as of September, there were 91 waivers issued, totaling $33,000. And then that number jumps up to 132 in November, totaling $51,000. In terms of the tax department, 197 waivers were issued in September, totaling $422,000, and that number jumped up to 220 at the end of November, totaling $458,000. With respect to fee waivers issued for the Mendocino County Cannabis Department, as of September 26, waivers were issued, totaling $18,000, and that number increased to 59, totaling $42,000 at the end of November. So if you add all of these numbers together, in September, we had issued 335 fee waivers, totaling $476,000. And then at the end of November, it increased to 433 fee waivers, totaling $554,000. Next slide. Important deadlines to keep in mind. The next round of direct grant applications opened on November 1st of 2022, and it's going to close on January 7th of 2023. The new opportunities include your grant awards. You can get up to $80,000. So for those of you who've already received your initial $50,000, you can apply for an additional $30,000. And then we're also introducing an income tax program. Next slide. Great. Kristen, did you want to make any comments about any of the information that we just shared? You're on mute. Thank you.
No, I don't think so. I think, keeping it short and sweet, and we can then go ahead and go to the demo, and we'll have plenty of time, I think, for some questions and answers towards the end of today's presentation.
Great. And are we recording this demo today? We are.
Yeah.
Great. Perfect.
So meeting will be available to folks on the county's YouTube channel as soon as YouTube adds the closed captioning to it. And then we'll get it posted to our events page on the Cannabis Department website as well. So all of today's information will be available. We apologize about last month's mishap, but today's meeting will definitely be available.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Unshare my screen, right? So Noah, you can take over.
Perfect. Thank you. And hi, everyone, and happy holidays. And thanks for taking the time with us today. Kristen, there you go. So let me share my screen. And the first thing you'll see on my screen is the website, which is at elevateimpactmendo.com. And this is our program website. It's got all kinds of great information about this program, and it's definitely the first place to visit if you have any questions about how the program works. The front page has all kinds of good information and also an ability to contact our team down here at the bottom. If you look in the menus, the first thing you'll notice is the program overview, which has an overview of the whole program writ large. And then there's information about the LEAP eligibility process, including an overview, jurisdiction criteria, income criteria, equity criteria, how to apply, and then the ability to start an application. And then you've got those same categories for grants. For the direct grants, you've got an overview, the grant categories, the direct grant required documents, so that you can see a list and get those documents together before you start, and then more information on how to apply. And a similar set of information for the permit and fee waiver grants. You've got the overview, the funding categories, and then how to apply. Once you're ready to make an application, right here in the top right-hand corner of the website is the Apply Now button. When you click there, you'll see that we've launched a new application process. So if you've applied in the past for any of these programs, you may have been familiar with our older application process. I'm really hopeful and confident that you'll find that the new application process is a whole lot better in a whole number of ways. And we'll walk through it now so that you can get a sense for it. So when you click any of these Apply Now links on the site, it's going to take you over to our new system, which lives at a website that's called elevateimpactfunds.com. And so you'll see we've clicked over to Elevate Impact Funds. Now, if you've used this system at all in the past, if you've logged into Elevate Impact Funds ever before, then you already have login credentials. And please don't set up new ones if you've already have some. Instead, we want you to log into your account. And so if that's the case, you'll click Login here at the top, and it'll take you to the login form. This page may look familiar, and if it does, that means that you probably already have login credentials for this system. And so this is the place to visit to log in. If you've forgotten your password, you can click Lost Your Password just here below the login button, and you'll be able to reset the password. If you've forgotten your username, the username is your email address that was used in your grant documents. And so if you've changed your email address since then, it'll be that previous email address that was used in the grant documents. And if for any reason you cannot remember, but you think you do have login credentials, but you can't remember what the username is, you can contact us. And at the bottom of every page of Elevate Impact Funds, you'll see this button. It says questions. Click here to contact us. And if you click there, you'll get a quick contact form that you can use to get in touch with our team, and they can help you with login issues or any other issues that you may have. So if you do have an account, use it to log in here. If not, then when you first clicked over to Apply Now, you'll see this page, and it allows you to register if you've never used this system before. And so you can set up new credentials. So I'm going to log into our test account. Test@test.com is my username here. And once we're logged in, you'll see your dashboard. And so this is your account with us at Elevate Impact Funds. It's two main columns. On the left-hand side, you'll see awarded grants or loans. And so these are applications that were successful in the past and turned into awarded grants. And you'll see those here on the left. And then and that may be familiar if you've logged in here before, then you've seen that left-hand column. But this new column on the right that says applications is what's brand new. And so if you have started an application in the new system, you would see it listed here and you could click into it to continue an application that was partially completed. But if you're just logging in for the first time, like we are, all you'll see over here is the ability to start a new application to apply for additional funding. So I'm going to click apply now. That's the first step. And immediately you'll see a little window pop up and it's going to ask you which type of application you're doing. So it's either a LEAP eligibility application or a grant application. So make sure to select the correct type of application because you can only have one application going at a time. And this will inform what kinds of questions you get asked and what kinds of, whether eligibility or a grant could be produced from this application. So I'm going to click grant. And in this case, we need to enter our LEAP eligibility number. So it's going to check that you're eligible when you start applying for a grant. I'm going to enter our test number. And when you click start applying, the system will create a new application for you and it'll take you to your application dashboard. So this is where you're going to apply. You're going to give us all the information that you need to complete an application. So the applications are broken into sections and you can see each of these blue sections is one of them. The first section is questions. These are the written questions that you'll need to answer in order to complete your application. And we'll click through them now. The questions are in two sections. The first one is the business profile. So this will be your contact information and basic information about you and your business. In each of these sections, you'll see that there's a progress bar up here at the top. That's that blue bar here that's just at the beginning now. It's going to fill up as we click through the questions. And so if you're in one of these sections, you'll know from the progress bar how much longer you have to go versus how many questions you've already completed. So the first step is to give us your name and some basic information. So I'm going to start filling this out. And Paula, please jump in if you have any comments about any of this.
Yes, the only thing I would add as you're filling this out is you have to have a LEAP eligibility number to apply for a grant application. If you're confused or you can't find your LEAP number or you don't know if you have one or you don't understand how to get one, please click the question box at the bottom of the form and send us a question and we can help you navigate whether you should be completing the grant application or the eligibility application. I'm stressing that because I know that there's been a couple of problems with people who are trying to apply and I want to make sure that you know that you can reach out to us for help. Thanks, Noah.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you'll find that questions, click here to contact us. You'll find that on every page of Elevate Impact Funds right here at the bottom. And so you can always get in touch with us that way. So I'm going to click to save and continue. Every single time you fill out a page of information in this application and then you go on to the next page, it'll save your progress. So if you need to leave at any time, don't worry that you're going to lose anything. Everything gets saved all the time. And if you come back after you've left, you'll be able to start just where you left off. So the next question in business profile is about whether there's a preparer, if there's somebody helping you to prepare this application. And if there is, you'll need to check this box and you'll need to give us the preparer's information. This is important so that we know who's working on the applications, but it's also important so that if you have a preparer or somebody that's helping you, that they can get alerts about the application as well. So if you enter a preparer's information here, they'll be CC'd on alert emails that come from the system about your status of your application and that sort of thing. I'm going to click on to the next step. The next question is about the entity information. So this is the business that would benefit from the grant. We're going to enter a business entity name. There's a DBA if applicable, and you'll also need to give us the date that your entity was established. So clicking to continue. Again, every time I click continue, it's saving our progress. Next step, if you have a provisional or annual state license or an application for a provisional or annual state license, you'll need to check this box. And then you'll give us information about that license or that application for a license, including what type of license and other information, the state license number and so forth. Clicking forward. The business type is the next question. So you've got options like retail, retail delivery only, cultivator, distributor, and so forth. A lot of these drop-down questions have an other option, and if you choose other, then you'll just need to type in what you'd like to submit. So we'll make a selection and we'll continue. Next up, we've got the business's legal entity structure. So those options are like sole proprietor, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, that sort of thing. Then we've got the questions about your lease or your executed binding letter of intent. If you don't have one, you check the box up top. Otherwise, you're going to give us information about your lease, including what type of lease, if it's an executed lease or a binding letter of intent. You'll give us the leaseholder or tenant name information, the amount of the lease payments, the lease terms, that sort of thing. Moving forward. Next up, we're asking how much of the entity the verified SEIA owns. Paula, do you need to own at least 50% to be eligible in this program?
In Mendocino County, you have to own at least 51%. The SEIA or social equity applicant needs to own 51% of the business entity.
Got it. So we'll submit there. And next up, we're going to ask how many employees you have, including the verified SEIA. We'll answer that question. And then last step in the business profile, and this is a very important step, we're asking who you would like your funds issued to. This is what we call the payee information. And you can have funds issued to yourself as an individual or to a business. And you'll give us that information here. And you'll also include the address that you'd like your tax documents sent to, like your 1099. You'll also need to let us know how this address is linked to the social equity entrepreneur. And so, for instance, it could be the address on the person's driver's license, the permit or license address, that sort of thing. So you'll answer those questions. I'll type the payee name. Great. So now that we've finished a section of questions, you'll notice that the counter here on that section has been filled. It counted up as we went through the steps. And now that we've finished it, you've got a nice little green badge here that lets you know you've finished that section. So we've just got to complete the rest of this application. I'd also like to take this moment to point out that another new feature of this new application system is that there's a progress bar down here at the bottom of the dashboard. So if we scroll down and we look at this application progress bar, this shows you all the steps of the application that are completed before you actually receive your funds. And so this will give you a sense of where you are in the application. Right now, the current step is application in progress. That's while we're filling out the initial application. And there's a variety of other steps that the application moves through before you receive funds. And you'll be able to see on this progress bar as you move through these steps. If you mouse over any item in the progress bar, you'll get a further explanation of what that step entails. And so this is a great place to look if you have questions about where you are in the process and how many more steps there are before you receive your funds, that sort of thing. So the next section here is in the questions section. It's the state demographic questions. These are questions that we're required to ask by the state. They are not you're not required to answer them. And so as you move through these questions, you'll always be able to check decline to state or skip a question if you'd prefer. The first question is about your age range. Moving forward, next section is about your race or ethnicity. If you don't see your identity listed here, you can always check not listed and then type in whatever you like. Moving forward, next step is about your gender identity, sexual orientation. There's a question about disability. Again, you're always welcome to check decline to state. The income level is the next question. Education level with options like high school graduate or equivalency, some college, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, etc. We're asking about prior convictions of you or other members of your immediate family. And last up, we've got a question about military service, whether you've served in the military or not. So now we've completed another section, and that means that we're done with the questions. That's all there is for questions. The next step is your documents. So the first, there's two sections of documents. The first one just has one document, and we'll click into it. It's government ID. We'll need a copy of your ID. And there will be a step later in this application process where you verify your ID, but this is where you upload a copy of your ID. So if you visit the application on a mobile device, when it comes time to do documents, you'll be able to take pictures of documents using your camera. Otherwise, you'll need a copy of your document on your computer, a scanned copy or what have you. And you'll just click Select File. Then you'll select a file to upload. Once you've selected the file, you'll see the file listed here. Make sure it's the one that you intended to upload. And if it is, click Upload. It'll give you a little progress bar while it uploads the file. And then again, it'll show you the name of the file here in the field. And if it's not the right file, you can select a different one. But if you're satisfied, then you'll click Save File. And that's all you have to do now. It's been attached to your application. We're going to click back to the application dashboard. And now you'll see that our government ID section is complete. However, some of the document sections have more than one document in them. So let's take a look at general documents. When I click into general documents, there's all these different documents in the left-hand menu. And we're going to click through them one by one, and we're going to upload documents for each. Not all of these documents are required, but it's best to give us as many documents as you can in these sections to make sure that your application can go quickly and that your underwriter doesn't have to reach back out for additional documents. So the first one is the LEAP eligibility. We're going to confirm your LEAP eligibility by having you upload your LEAP eligibility letter. So again, same process. We're just going to upload that file. And then some of these documents have questions attached to them. And if there are questions, go ahead and answer the questions. They're going to ask you your eligibility number found on your letter, and then the name that the letter was issued to.
And Noah, I think it's important to explain when you hit save in this section, the answers disappear, but that doesn't mean they were not saved.
That's right.
We get a lot of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So you'll notice that after you hit save in this section, you'll get this little yellow bar. It says your file has been saved. Please use the menu on the left to continue uploading documents or return to the dashboard to continue your application. If you leave this page and you return, you won't see your answers to your questions in the field anymore, but you will see a notice that says that the questions have been saved along with the document, and that'll be the truth. Those questions are saved. If you want to replace a document, if a document expires and you want to upload a new one, or if you uploaded and by accident and you want to fix it, when you navigate away and then you come back, you can replace the document by uploading a new document and answering the questions again. So clicking forward, the next document is your state license. You'll need to upload your provisional or annual state license here, and it'll also ask the name on the license. Next up, we've got your cultivation permit. There's a handful of questions associated with this document. This is only required if you are a cultivator, but if you are, you'll upload your Mendocino County cultivation permit or application receipt for the application for that permit. The permit should be for the location where you plan to spend your grant funds. And if you're planning to spend your grant funds at a business license location, you do not need to complete this section because you'll be completing the business license section, which is next instead. So let's say that that's what was happening with us, and let's move on to business license. So if you're not a cultivator or you plan to spend your grant funds at your business license location, you'll upload your Mendocino County Cannabis Facilities business license or your application receipt for the application for that license. Otherwise, this section is not required. I'll go ahead and upload a document here. I'm going to ask the expiration date. That's coming up. And then it's got a handful of other questions. Is the address on the license or application receipt the location where the grant funding will be spent? We're going to say yes. If we said no, it would remind you that means that this is not eligible and you'll need to upload a different document. But we're going to say yes. We'll enter the license number and the date and so forth, and we'll hit save. So next up, we have your tax payment document. This is your Mendocino County Cannabis Tax Payment Document or your email from MCD. If you are delinquent on your Mendocino County taxes, you'll need to upload the document showing the amount due. If you're not delinquent, you'll upload the Mendocino County tax payment receipt for the past 3 years here under tax delinquency. And then under liability insurance, you'll upload your liability insurance or your quote for purchasing liability insurance if you were purchasing them with these direct grant funds. Paula, correct me if any of this doesn't sound right to you, or if you have anything.
I just I was going to let you complete this section, but again, we're getting there are a lot of questions coming in, and so I'm answering the questions while you're doing the demo. But the one thing that has come up again, and I just want you to restate what you said a few moments ago. When you upload a document to this section, the document gets saved. However, you can't delete it, right? Because it's already been sent to our system and saved on the server. So you can't delete it. However, you can upload a subsequent document, which will then also be stored on our system. And then, it won't appear after you leave the page, but it is stored on our system. So again, you cannot delete a document. You can only upload a new document. And when you upload the new document, it's not necessarily replacing the old one, but both versions of the document are stored.
That's right. And the underwriter will, the underwriters will look to your most recent document first, and if it's relevant, then they'll use that one in the application process.
Right. And I can understand the reason people are asking this question, because let's say you upload a document by mistake. I do that all the time when I'm filling out applications, and you have this desire to retract it and upload the correct one. But unfortunately, you cannot retract it. But don't worry about it. As Noah just said, the underwriter will only review the most recent document and come back to you if they have any questions about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we have a two-step process when you're uploading a document. It'll confirm with you twice that the document is the one you really intend to upload. And so you'll see the name of that document in two different places before you're finally saving it and attaching it to the application. So next up, we've got the executive summary. You'll upload your business's executive summary. Under ownership / operating documents, we've got two documents here. If you're using a business bank account, you're going to upload a document showing that the equity applicant owns at least 51% of the business listed on the bank statement. So it could be an operating agreement, a corporate filing, that sort of thing. If you're using a business bank account, you'll also need to provide the Secretary of State document showing the business name and that the entity is in good standing. So there's a link here in the application. If you don't know where to obtain that document, you can click there and you'll be able to find it, and then you'll need to upload it and save it here. And last up, we've got the W-9. You'll download and complete a W-9 form, and then you'll upload it here. And then you'll answer 4 questions that'll just confirm that everything you did on the W-9 is correct. If you answer no to any of these questions, you'll need to correct the W-9 and upload it again here. Paula, anything else on documents before we move on?
No, I think I would also like to say that you can upload multiple documents. You just have to do them one at a time. So feel free, if you feel like you want to upload more than one document and each of these uploader fields, as you see on the page presented, you're more than welcome to upload more than one document, and then your underwriter will open it and review it and come back to you with any questions or comments.
Yeah, I would just add that make sure that you save after each time. So upload a document, answer any questions attached, click save. And then after that, you can upload another if you'd like.
Great.
So moving back to the dashboard, and again, there's these tabs up here at the top of the application. It's dashboard and my application. You can always get back to the dashboard by clicking dashboard. And that'll bring you back here. And now you see we've finished the document section and the questions section. So we're getting very close now. There's just 2 more sections. And the first one is budget. So let's click into the budget. We'll need you to share a budget for the way that you're going to spend the funds that result from this grant. And the way you do that is here in the budget section, you're going to add one by one your budget categories until your full budget appears here. And so the way to do that is to click this blue button that says Add Budget Category. And when I click that, I get a short form that we use to add a budget category to our budget. So first, you're going to select the category. There's all kinds of categories here. It lists all of the allowable categories from the state. And so let's see, we'll say fixtures and equipment. Then you're going to type the amount that you'll spend in that budget category. So let's say it was $2,000. You can give us a memo of how you're going to spend the budget in that category. And I'm going to say white fixed Here's for the main location. And then you can select a file from your computer and you'll attach a file that's an estimate or a quote related to this budget category or any other file that you need to attach to explain the budget. So you can select a file just like you did in the other places. And you'll upload it with your budget category. And then you hit submit. And the system will add a budget category and it'll reload. And you'll see now in your budget, there's that budget category listed. It's $2,000. You can look at the document by clicking this icon. And if you made any mistake here, you can press delete. It'll remove that budget category and you can start again. Let's say that I'm applying for $5,000. So this budget is only $2,000 so far, and I need to add another $3,000. So I'm going to click add budget category again. And we'll say it's for a licensing fee. I'll put in that $3,000 item. And I'll hit submit, and that'll bring our budget total up to the $5,000 that I was looking for. And once your budget is complete here, then you can navigate back to the dashboard and your budget will be complete. So now it says done. The last thing I need to do before I can submit this application to underwriting is to complete the affidavit. So let's click into authorization and affidavit. You'll just need to read this carefully. And in order to sign it, you'll enter your full name and you'll select the date that you signed it. So it'll be today's date by default. Hitting save and continue will bring us back to the dashboard. And now you'll see that all of the sections are marked as done, and the submit application button down here has become available. It was disabled until now, and now it's clickable. Last but not least, if you want to include a note to your underwriter, anything else, a question for them or a comment to them, you can put it here in this box. And once you're ready, you'll submit that application. Paula, anything else on the application before I move forward?
No, I just want to make the distinction that if you have a question prior to submitting your application, please use the question form at the bottom of the page. The box that Noah is highlighting above, yeah, that's the question form. Thank you. This box that is Noah's highlighting, these comments will only be sent to us once you submit your application. Okay, so if you're still in progress, use the question form at the bottom. But if you want to send it as you submit your application, you're welcome to use the comment box here.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So let's submit our application. It's going to ask us if we're really sure that we're ready to submit. We are, so we'll hit yes. And this will submit the application. You'll get a quick note that says that the underwriters will review your application. If they have any questions or need additional information, their notes will appear here. And when we close that, you'll see that our dashboard updates. So now it just lets you know your application has been submitted to the Elevate underwriting team and that you're waiting on our team to get back to you. You'll also see that in the application progress bar, the application submitted is now our current step. Application in progress is complete. And you'll see these green check marks will appear on each step as we move forward. So the next step in this application is that the underwriters are going to take a look at your application. First, an underwriter will get assigned to your application, and you'll get an email letting you know their name and introducing you to them. Then that underwriter will review your application. And if they have, if they find anything that is missing or that isn't quite right, they'll send the application back to you. And what happens in that case is that you'll get an email letting you know that they sent it back and encouraging you to log in here at Elevate Impact Funds. And then when you log in here, you'll see your application again. So you'll be able to edit any part of it. And you'll see the comments that the underwriter left. And so they'll tell you just what they need you to do to fix the application so that it can move forward. So you'll make whatever changes they've requested, and then you'll resubmit the application. They'll take a look through it again. Again, if they find anything wrong, they'll send it back to you. You can go back and forth as much as you need to. But at some point, they'll look through your application and they'll find that it's great and it's ready to go. And so in that case, they'll do what we call sending your application to closing. So I'm going to go ahead and send this application to closing, and that'll take us to the next step. Okay, so when you'll get another email letting you know that your application was sent to closing. And when you reload when you visit Elevate Impact Funds and sign in after the application's been sent to closing, this is what you'll see. This is when your budget's been approved and you're entering the cobblestone process. Paula, any notes about the cobblestone process?
No, basically, once you've submitted your application, it gets reviewed by the underwriting team, and the most critical part of the application review will be the budget review. And a lot of you have spent a lot of time with Stacy, who does most of the budget reviews for Mendocino County. She'll come back to you with some questions or some changes or some fixes. And then once the budget has been approved by Kristen and her team, it is then sent into our legal review process. And the legal review process creates the grant agreement and combines it with your approved budget documents. And those documents are sent to Cobblestone. Cobblestone is the software platform that Mendocino County uses to circulate the grant agreement through all the different departments that need approval, like the risk department and the county council review, as well as the quality assurance review. So all of the different departments review the documents and all of them sign off. And once you get sign off on all of the documents, then your application has been fully approved and a check can be written to whoever you specify as a part of your application process.
Right. And so at that point, a draft of the document that you're going to sign will appear in the system. And so when you sign back, is that right, Paula? Stop me if any of this isn't quite right for Mendocino, but I think it is. So then you'll get an email letting you know that document is ready for your review. And when you log back into the system, this is what you'll see. You're now on the legal review pending step. There's a link here you can click to see your legal document, and you should review it carefully. You can review it with your attorney. You should seek the advice of an attorney. You'll confirm that the information in the legal document is correct. And you'll answer a couple of questions here if the recipient name and address are correct. At this point, if they aren't correct, you'll need to get in touch with our team using the Contact Us link at the bottom of the page. If you need to change your address or information from your legal documents, you'll need to go through underwriting again. And so you'll get in touch to begin that process. But hopefully the information in your documents are correct, so you'll answer yes. And then you have the option of reviewing your legal documents with a member of the Elevate Impact team on a meeting. So if you'd like that kind of meeting, you'll answer yes or no to whether you'd like to do that. If you would like a meeting like that, then you're gonna be offered links that take you to a calendar system where you can sign up for that meeting. And then you'll be able to have that meeting. And once the meeting is complete, then you'll come back to the portal here and you'll fill out the document review consultation acknowledgement that just says that you had that meeting and you went through the legal documents with our team member. If you'd rather not have that meeting, you'll click no here, and then you can immediately fill out the document review consultation acknowledgement form, and you'll just say that you're declining. You'll check the declined button here in the form, which declines the meeting with the Elevate Impact legal staff. And then you'll sign by entering your name and the date. And you'll hit submit. And after you've completed the legal review acknowledgement form, you'll move right on to the next step, which it'll let you know that your legal review is now complete. You're in Cobblestone. If you need to change your name or anything, or your business name at this point in the process, you will need to go back through underwriting. And so the only way to do that will be to use the Contact Us link at the bottom and get in touch with our team. But your documents have been sent to Cobblestone and are waiting for feedback. This process can take several weeks. If any changes are requested by Mendocino County, we'll let you know and your application will be sent back for corrections. So just like we talked about, you'll be able to make edits here in the system and you'll see the notes right here in the system. So you'll see what needs to be done. Once your documents are approved by Mendocino County, you'll receive a DocuSign email asking for your electronic signatures. And then the next step after that will be to sign your DocuSign and then to have the appropriate folks at the county countersign the document as well, which is an automated process. You'll need to find that email when it arrives and click into it to sign it. And then the folks at the county will do the same. Paula, any notes on this before we move on to the next step?
No, I think that's everything. Really, what happens is we manage a lot of the application on the portal, but once the legal review starts, the documents then start to be managed by the Cobblestone system that I described earlier and move through the Cobblestone system at Mendocino County. So that's really kind of the handoff that occurs at this point.
Yeah. And so once those documents are complete and the Cobblestone process is complete, then we'll make the funding request and your funds will get distributed. And you'll need to come back to this system and upload proof that you've received the funds. And so that can be a screenshot showing the deposited funds in your bank account, or it can be a scan of the voided check. And so you'll upload that document here in the system. I'll go ahead and upload a sample document. And once you've made that upload, then here in the portal, you'll move on to the next step, which is that you've received your funding, and that's the end of the application process. But the last thing that we need you to do is that at this point, it'll be time to start uploading receipts as you spend the money from your grant. And so let's click back to our account. So here is the main page of your account at Elevate Impact Funds again. You'll see that now in the right-hand column, there's an application in progress. This is what you'll see if you leave while you're filling out an application and you need to come back and get back into it. You'll see your application listed here, and you'll click More, and then you'll click Continue Application if you'd like to continue working on the application. But if you completed the application like we just saw, your grant will be listed here on the left-hand side as an awarded grant. And so when you see your grant here in the list, if you click on the little pencil icon under View, that'll take you into the grant itself. You'll see the grant information, including your budget here on the left. And on the right, you'll be able to upload receipts to show how you've been spending this money. And so if you click Add New Expense, you'll fill out this quick form, which will ask you the date of the spending, the amount, the payee, so that's the person or business that you were spending the money at. I'm going to say Target. And we'll ask you to describe in 5 words or less the spending that was done here. And so we're going to say computer equipment. And then we'll find that category in the allowable expense categories. And so we'll say laptop computers / tablets. And then you can give us a memo and you can upload an image of the receipt. So I'm going to say Dell laptop. And then we'll upload a receipt image. Again, if you're on a mobile device, you'll be able to take a photo with your device here. And then we'll click Submit. And that new category of spending will appear right here in the list. You'll see it's down here at the bottom, the one that we just entered, computer equipment, laptop computers. Again, if you need to delete an expense and re-enter it, you're welcome to do that. And you can click on the little document icon here on the far right if you'd like to see the image of the receipt that you had uploaded. You can sort your list of expenses by category and so forth. You can see the totals. You can also export this list to Excel. And so you can work with your spending here. You'll also be able to see statistics about your spending down below in a pie chart. So that's the broad overview of the new Elevate Impact Funds application and expense tracking tool. Paula, anything to add before we move on to the Q&A?
No, I think let's jump into the Q&A. I've been trying to answer some questions throughout the demo, but I think there are other questions that we can certainly answer live. So Great. Thank you, Noah, for walking us through that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so why don't we move to the Q&A? So some questions are for you, Kristen, if you don't mind. The first question says, please give us information on how to apply for the income tax program.
Right. So I think folks can just add income tax requests into their scope of project in their budget. And so if you're an individual, you can apply to set aside up to 13% of your grant award amount for the purposes of paying income taxes. And if you are receiving your grant funding in the name of an entity, right? And it has to be a legal entity, not just doing business as. But if you are receiving your grant funding in the name of an entity, a business entity, you can set aside up to 3.5% of your grant award for income taxes. And you would just write that into, again, your scope of project and your budget.
Right. But also, Kristen, I think it's important to describe that you don't get the actual grant funds until the taxes.
In arrears. And this is what I mean by set aside. So you could apply for a full $80,000 award, say, and then set aside, request in your scope of project and your budget to set aside, right, up to 3.5% of that $80,000 to pay your business taxes, right? Because the $80,000 is going to show as revenue for your business, right? And then what will happen is we will set that dollar amount aside for the awarded applicant. And then upon the applicant presenting us a receipt showing that you paid said income taxes and that the income taxes that you paid were equal to or in excess of what we set aside for you, we will release a check for that 3.5%. It would work the same way with an individual. I'm just going to run through the example once, though, using a business entity.
Okay, next question. Would you expand on executive summary? We do have a template for executive summary, which has been made available, or if you want it sent to you directly, please fill out the question form. I know on our last call that someone asked for a template specifically for a cultivation cannabis business, and we are working on that. So we'll hopefully have that ready for you by the beginning of the year. Okay, next question. I think this one might, half of it I think is for you and half of it's for me. It's about the Mendocino County tax payments. So let me go ahead and read it. For the 3 years of proof of Mendocino County tax payments, is the tax collector's office able to supply us with a single item of proof? Or should we scan each receipt and combine them all into a single PDF? So how does the Mendocino County tax office supply that information? Do you happen to know, Kristen?
I don't know if they can do a receipt for consecutive years, right? So
right.
They may be able to supply each year's receipt as one PDF via email, but I'm not sure how their tax tracking system works, if it will actually combine multiple years of receipts into one document. So,
right.
But they will, if you email them, they will email you a receipt showing that you've paid your taxes or you have X outstanding balance for year 2018 or 2019 or, any consecutive years.
Great. So you have a couple of options depending on how the information comes to you. If you find yourself with 3 different pieces of paper, one for each year, you yourself can combine it into a single PDF, scan it as one PDF, and upload it into our document, and it would be a 3-page PDF. If you don't have the ability to combine it into one PDF, as Noah mentioned earlier, you can upload more than one document into the portal, but you have to do it one at a time. So you would hit page 1 or year 1, hit save, hit upload year 2, hit save, upload year 3, hit save, and then all 3 documents will go to your underwriter. Okay. All right. Next question. The first item says, upload your Mendocino County cultivation permit or application receipt whose number begins in AG. So I believe I'm on the right portal, but it doesn't list the same documents as he was showing on the screen. I have some questions about the criteria C individual arrest item. So Noah was doing a demo of the grant application. The eligibility application is a different application. And I believe that the person who submitted this question was in the eligibility application while Noah was demoing the grant application. So sorry for that confusion if we weren't clear about that in the beginning. The next question the person says, I have questions about criteria C, individual arrest item. Please go ahead and type your question here, and we'll try to get through it if we have time available left on this call. Thank you. Can I select more than one file? Yes, you just have to upload the first one, hit save, upload the second one, hit save, and then upload the third one and hit save. You have to save them each individually on the portal. Okay, the awarded grant section says none found. We did upload the equity information. So I'm not sure I'm following this question. So if you could please use the question form at the bottom of the page, and I'll be able to respond to you directly. Let's see. Application. Go ahead.
I would just add on that question that when you're on your account home page, where you have a left-hand column of awarded grants and loans and a right-hand column of applications, if you have not if you've not received a grant from the system, or you've just finished your application and are about to receive a grant, you won't see anything in the left-hand column, which is the awarded grants or loans. But again, like Paula said, if you feel you should have something in that column and you don't see it, then you'll just need to contact us using the contact form at the bottom of the page.
Great. Thank you for that clarification, Noah. I didn't quite absorb the question. And we are in the process of uploading all of the grants that have been awarded to date in Mendocino County. We haven't completed that yet. So if you need us to hurry up for you, just please use the question form and we'll get it uploaded as quickly as possible. We were making some updates to the portal, which delayed that process a little bit. So I apologize for that. The next is a comment. This application portal is great and looks like it will really streamline this process. Thank you. Thank you for that, Hildy. We've been working really hard to make this process easier and faster for everyone. Let's see. Do we need to have a building permit approved to submit the budget by January 7th, or is a building permit number sufficient? There's a chance the building department won't be done approving by January 7th. I think you typed an answer to this one, Kristen.
I did, and I was just going to go ahead and post it. But okay. I can also just repeat it quickly. Yeah. So be both in writing, and then we'll verbally respond right now. But if you are applying for a direct grant that has building permits associated with your scope of project, right? You can go ahead and apply for the direct grant without having that building permit or building permits applications being submitted and or final. Remember, if you're LEAP certified, you can use a waiver to pay for those building permits that are associated with your cannabis business. So you would want to go to the cannabis department's website, go to the forums and resources page, and then scroll down about midway, you'll find the LEAP waiver forms. So for planning and building permits, you're going to use the planning and building estimate form. You'll use one form for building permit. You'll fill in the building that, and it will put the information for each building permit into a single, let me back up. One form per building permit you're seeking, right? So fill out one estimate form for each building permit you're seeking, and then mail, email, or stop into planning and building and drop off the estimate form or forms with planning and building. That's where the building permit waivers start for the LEAP program. They'll take it from there, provide the estimate back to the department so we can confirm your LEAP eligibility number, and then go ahead and pay whatever that fee is for that building permit or those permits you're seeking from planning and building. So sorry I stumbled through that orally. I'm going to post this answer. It's a little more eloquent and simple right now, so you can also see it in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Kristen. Let's see. The order grant there, great. Under the budget category, which file do you want? Excel or photos of quote from the internet? So we will accept documents that clearly define a third party as the vendor or supplier. So some of the problems we've had with Excel spreadsheets in the past is there was no third-party vendor identified on the Excel spreadsheet. Most of the photos that we've received do identify a third party. So if you're purchasing, something from Home Depot, or if you're purchasing a computer from Amazon. All of those sorts of receipts have a third party as the vendor. But if we can't tell if the equipment that you're buying or the soil that you're buying or the rocks that you're buying are being supplied by a third party vendor, it's very difficult for us to approve those receipts. So whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or a photo, please make sure that the third party is clearly identified on the invoice. Let's see. Will the Mendocino County tax assessor provide us with the last 3 years of up-to-date paid cultivation taxes, or do we just upload each quarter for the last 3 years? Kristen, it looks like you're answering, but I'd appreciate
I posted an answer to that, but I'll also just say it. So again, you know, you can email, you can call, you can stop into the treasurer tax collector's office. And I think stopping in or emailing is best. And emailing is really simple. You don't have to leave home. So I would encourage folks to email request tax receipts, and they'll supply you with 3 years of tax receipts, regardless of whether you chose to pay true-ups or you paid quarterly, or you paid in a combination of quarterly and then still had true-up payments. So they'll provide a receipt showing that you are fully paid in 2018 or that you have X outstanding balance. But yeah, they are more than happy to provide you with those receipts, and you can email and they'll email them back to you.
Great, thank you. Where can I find information about what insurance is needed? One of the exhibits, Schedule C in the grant agreement, specifies the insurance requirements associated with the application. If you don't have access to that, I know we sent it out earlier, but if you don't have access, please fill out the question form at the bottom of the page specifying that you would like to receive the insurance requirements, and we'll get that out to you. Do owners count as employees? Kristen, I'm actually going to let you answer that question.
You know, I think this is a permitting question, right? So how do you fill out an employee list? And there is a second page on the list, like the employee sheet that provides some definitions. So it's supposed to help the applicant distinguish between who to label as an owner, say, versus a manager versus an employee. Now, people do get really confused about the Colton Ops Plan, because sometimes in the Colton Ops Plan, we also ask how many employees you have, and then folks aren't sure if they count themselves, if they're the owner, as an employee. I think do your best, look at those definitions on the employee form and utilize those definitions. If we have questions, we'll reach out and ask you about it. But yeah, this is, I think, mostly a permit application question, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah, I think that's right. So thank you for that. Let's see. How do we know if we should apply for the direct grant or the LEAP eligibility grant? So LEAP eligibility is not a grant. You have to become LEAP eligible in order to apply for a grant. So if you don't have a LEAP eligibility letter, and it's very clear what that is, if you'd like me to send you a sample, please fill out the question box and I'd be happy to do that. But it's a letter that very specifically says you have been eligible, you've been deemed eligible, here's your LEAP eligibility number. This is the letter that you will need to submit to apply for the grant. So if you don't have that letter, or you don't know what that letter is, then you cannot apply for the direct grant. Once you receive LEAP eligibility, then you can fill out the direct grant application. Okay, next question. Cobblestone is taking much longer than several weeks. How do we get more clarity and help in getting through Cobblestone?
So I think this is a exception, right? So the applicant who's asking this question is in a situation that has created a longer timeline specific to this applicant, and some questions that have gone back and forth about the scope of work and the projects that are proposed. So this is not a Cobblestone component, it's a content component. And the content of the grant agreement itself is what is creating the extended timeline. And I do have a note to set up a meeting with this applicant, so I will be reaching out. I apologize that that has not occurred yet. Pretty busy. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. When do you expect the grant application will reopen in 2023? Go ahead.
I think
Please.
that's really dependent on the timeline of the next round of funding, right?
Right.
So we did apply for what it would be our fourth round of funding. That solicitation timeline closed on December 14th. We probably will not hear back about awards until early in 2023. And then if we are awarded, which I'm pretty sure we will be, fingers crossed, or we keep positive on that. It usually takes a few months after we find out that we've been awarded to receive the grant agreement and sign off on that, get it executed, and then get a check. So we won't know when we'll be able to reopen the grant application period until we know the results and the timelines of the next round of funding.
Great, thank you. Let's see, the previous grant does not show up in my application. I never had a login prior to this original application. I used a different email. Is this the problem? Don't know. Please use the question form at the bottom of the page and tell us more specifically about your situation. We have the ability to look up what email addresses have been used in our database. And if we can link you to that email address, we can then certainly give you the address and have you use that address and reset your password. You know, this is actually a very important point. We track people by their email addresses. And I know that people often change their email addresses as they launch new businesses or they hire new employees or whatever it is that they're doing. And you can't just automatically assume that your new email address is going to link you to your old application email address. We're going to have to manually check that for you. It's actually part of our identity verification. We don't want to give information to somebody who's not the individual linked to the account. So please fill out the question form and we will help you locate what email address you use. We'll verify your identity and then we'll be able to allow you to reset your password. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, the things just moved around.
Sorry about that.
That's that's okay.
I'm like clicking things off as we go, and then it probably made your screen jump. I apologize.
No worries. Is there a problem if more funds than estimated are spent on a particular budget item? For example, well drilling costing more because of a deeper than expected well being drilled. So,
Kristen? I think that if you have well drilling as one of your three items, right, perhaps, and the well drilling costs more than you anticipated, I think you can opt to spend less on the amendments that are the other item, right, in your grant agreement. And this is something that we'll have to manage through the budget app and the receipt reconciliation components. But of course, you get an estimate thinking you're going to hit water at 200 feet, and now you're suddenly drilling to 250, right? That price tag is going up, and it's really hard to make an accurate estimate for some types of project. Well drilling is a great example. So there is some flexibility to kind of work within the scope of project and the budget that has been approved and awarded. And I think, if this is coming up for you, please reach out to your Elevate Impact team and let them know that, this is the situation. I just completed my well drilling, and instead of it costing me $30,000, it cost me $35,000. How do I do this? What's the recommendation? They'll help walk you through how to manage that in that budget and receipt reconciliation platform. And if the department has questions, we'll reach out and we can go from there.
Great, thank you. This question I think might be very specific to the particular person asking it. So on a Lenovo-based, Windows-based computer, that last screen does not show like yours showed. So it depends on the setting on your computer. If there's some specific information that you need that you could not see, please reach out and we'll try to answer the question for you. Thank you.
Yeah, and when you say, and when you do reach out, if you need to reach out, when you say the last screen doesn't show, we'll just need a description of what that is. And if you can take a screenshot, I'm sure that would be helpful as well.
Great, perfect. Let's see. What expenses are eligible under vehicles? That line item was contemplated to be used if you were purchasing a vehicle. Now, in order to use that line item, though, it needs to be on your budget that has been approved by Mendocino County. So if you have some sort of vehicle expenditure that you would like to spend, please put it on your budget. We will try to get it approved, if appropriate, by Mendocino County, and then you'll be able to upload it to the budget, on the budget tool as well as on the expense app, but it has to be pre-approved. All right, if the grant project totals $80K, is it possible to apply for additional grant to cover taxes? No. The only amount that you can apply for is $80K. If you wish to allocate a portion of the $80K for your taxes that will be paid in arrears, you can absolutely do that. But you cannot get additional grant funds above $80,000. Okay, let's see. TT receipts are quarterly, so it would be 12 documents. So
if you're asking the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office to provide you documentation showing that you paid taxes in 2020, 2019, 2018, they're going to provide you with a statement showing that your balance is zero, whether you paid quarterly or you paid in a true up or you paid a combination thereof. So it's not, they aren't necessarily going to send you a receipt for every quarter. They'll send you an overall receipt showing that your balance is zero or that you have a balance outstanding.
Great, thank you. Let's see. To be clear, can I set aside enough of the $30,000 second round grant award to cover grants, income taxes generated by the $50,000 grant award, or even as an individual, 13% of the $80,000? Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So if you already received a grant amount and you're applying for a second grant with us for a second LEAP grant, you can apply for 13% as an individual of the combined total, right? So if you got a $30,000 grant and now you're doing a $50,000, or you had a $50,000 grant and now you're doing a $30,000 grant, you can apply for 13% of the total of $80,000.
Will it matter, Kristen, with regards to when, let's say they got $50,000 in 2022 and then $30,000 in 2023?
I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question, but I don't know the answer to that because then we would be asking for two tax statements, and we didn't approve a tax plan for the previous year. I mean, I think that's a little cart before the horse too, because all of the monies are going to go out before this next, or be allocated or set aside before this next tax period. So I don't think in 2023 you can apply for taxes you paid in 2022. That would be reimbursement. Right. So
that's fair. Okay, great. So what does the January 7th deadline mean? Will completed applications plus budgets submitted by January 7, 2023 be eligible for corrections if necessary and ultimately funded via round 3? So you have to submit your direct grant application by January 7th. It does not mean that the direct grant application has to be approved by January 7th. It just means you need to have your materials submitted onto the portal and you are in the underwriting process by January 7th. It's very difficult to predict when the budgets and the applications are going to be approved. That's a harder question for me to answer, but as long as your applications materials are in, then your application will be reviewed. Now, will they be funded through round 3? Also unclear. It depends on how long the approval process takes. We could find ourselves in a situation where if the approval doesn't happen for 2 or 3 months, you may find yourself being funded by the new round of grant funding, state grant funding, which is likely to arrive somewhere in the July, August, September time period, which is what it has been historically.
And just one thing I'd like to add to this too is the way the county is running the LEAP program is really unique from other jurisdictions. So the amount of underwriting support and support in general that applicants are receiving to complete these scopes of project, executive summaries, and budgets is unlike what's happening in other jurisdictions. So when we talk about submittal by the January 7th deadline, there may be additional time in underwriting that's necessary. It's very rare that Elevate receives a grant application that's ready to come to us for approval in the next week, right? There's almost always several weeks of underwriting where the Elevate team is actually helping grant applicants complete the scope of project, the budget, and perhaps the executive summary. And that all happens before it comes forward for approval. So like you're not going to submit on January 7th. I mean, you might, but it's unlikely that people would be submitting on January 7th and that we would be reviewing them here in the department the following week. There's almost always 2 to 4 weeks or more of underwriting that's occurring with the Elevate team after that initial submittal.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because remember, we have been accepting applications all year long. So there is a backlog, and you're going to have to wait in line, so to speak, while we get through people who submitted their applications prior to January 7th. So we can't have people jumping the queue, right? That's unfair to the people who got their applications in early. And we work very hard to make sure that people stay in their place in line and are served as they appear in the queue. So that would be another reason why, even though if you get your application in on January 7th, it may be a few weeks before we actually can review the application, depending on who is in line ahead of the January 7th deadline. Okay, I think this question was answered. On the income tax category, applying as an individual, then 13% is based on the $30,000 for new direct grant application, or based on the $80K, or based on the $50K already received. Is 13% of your grant amount. So you can choose to set aside 13% of the 30. You can choose to set aside 13% of the 80. You can choose to set aside 13% of the 50. It's really your choice. Okay.
Right. It's an up to option, right? You can set aside up to 13% of your total grant awards and direct grant awards through the LEAP program. So one grant at $80K, you can choose to set aside up to 13% of $80,000. 2 grant awards that total $80K, you can still opt to set aside up to 13% of that $80,000.
Great. Can funds be used retroactively to reimburse for things that have already been paid? No.
No, and that's a state constraint, right? So this grant is specific to startup and ongoing expenses. So there's no ability for us to award direct grant funds for reimbursement purposes.
Great. Will you be we will be requesting a grant for a new commercial structure for a dispensary. Will you accept the submission of a receipt for a cannabis facility license? Yes.
Yeah, so just to be really crystal clear here, the LEAP grant program is not specific to cultivation or nursery operations. It is supply chain wide. So if you're a commercial cannabis business operator, right, in the unincorporated area of the county, whether you have a permit for laboratory testing or processing or manufacturing or retail, once you're deemed LEAP eligible, you can utilize direct grant funding for startup and ongoing expenses associated with any permit type you hold, right? As long as it's in the unincorporated area.
Great. How long does it take to get approved for LEAP eligibility before I can apply for grants? I will tell you that we approved someone for LEAP eligibility in 2 days this week. The reason they were approved so quickly is because they submitted the appropriate documents that did not have to be re-verified, and there was no back and forth between the underwriter and the applicant. So it really depends on the quality of the materials that you submit. If you submit documents that are inappropriate or don't meet the qualifications as outlined on the portal, we will have to turn those back to you, and we will have to ask you to present a different application. We try really hard not to decline anyone, but oftentimes that slows down the process if the documents you submit are not the appropriate documents. Okay? Let's see.
Paula,
Yeah.
we do have one hand raised, and we're getting pretty close.
Oh, I was trying to, thank you.
We should consider going to folks who have called in and have their hand raised. So
okay, great.
I can see that I imagine it's Kelly, who usually comes up as Marlboro Advisors, has her hand raised. I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen with the timer, and that changed my view. So give me just a minute here to manage myself so I can.
And while you're doing that, I actually can't see the raised hand, so I'm going to let you manage that.
Right. Okay, great. So sorry about that, everyone. I just want to say, if you do want to ask a question, we got through quite a few in the Q&A feature. We may have time for another caller after Kelly. You can raise your hand using *9 on your phone or the raise hand feature in the Zoom application. Oh, I apologize. I need to scroll and manage the screen better. So we will go to Paul first and then Kelly. I apologize, Kelly. Paul is in the queue before you. So Paul, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to ask your question, make your comment. We'll try to respond, and then we'll go to Kelly. So Paul, you should be able to unmute your device and go ahead and start your question.
Hi, yes, thank you very much. Sorry, my voice is a little scratchy. But I'm wondering if there's any movement on the claiming a mortgage as opposed to rent as a eligible item. I know there was some discussion about that, and I wanted to see if they had they thought about that anymore, if there was any further movement on that. Also, I guess with the reconciliation, if we need to go over that, I would have to go over that with Paula or with one of the underwriters. But the main thing is about the mortgage payment, if that is going to be deemed as an eligible item, since I don't own the property, the bank owns the property, and that's the whole idea of the mortgage. So it's basically just like rent. So can you, if it's deemed ineligible, can you explain how it is self-dealing? Thank you.
We are still waiting for guidance. It is now currently eligible. It is considered self-dealing because you are essentially, it just is considered self-dealing. But I did talk to county council today, and I know they're working through some guidance. I don't know if mortgages will become allowed or not. And I really don't want to get out in front of a statement before I have more information from county council on this one. So we'll go ahead and go to Kelly next. Kelly, you should be able to unmute your device and ask your question.
Thanks, Kristen. My question, well, actually it's more of a comment. So in the equity eligibility page that I was referring to in the Q&A, the individual arrest page mentions equity applicant was working in the cannabis industry at the time of arrest, conviction, and asset forfeiture. That doesn't make any sense because generally the eligibility has to do with arrests prior to 2015 or 2016, and the cannabis industry wasn't established at that point. So if this verbiage could please be revised to make a little bit more sense. Generally, the equity requests are for prior cannabis offenses, and it's pretty general. So I just found the language on this page really confusing, and so if that could be taken a look at. And then, Kristen, we would still like to know if there's been any progress related to new owners being added to an applicant. Amendo applicant.
There's no way to add owners or additional applicants to an application. That's not going to change. That is, unless we did an ordinance change that didn't require proof of prior for phase 1, there's no way for us to change that, Kelly.
So the applicant has to wait for you to approve the permit before that they would be eligible for their business to receive grant funding.
They would have to wait for the application to be approved into a permit before they could change the applicant name or add additional applicants to, or additional permit holders to that permit.
Okay, that's just incredibly frustrating because these businesses are evolving all the time.
Yeah, there's no way to change it without completely rewriting the requirements for phase one, which I don't think is politically viable, to be honest with you.
That's
So,
really unfortunate. Okay, thank you.
yeah. Okay, we have no more hands raised. And we've got 2 minutes. Do we want to take one more question out of the Q&A, Paula?
There are a lot of questions.
Well, let's do this one then, because I
Okay.
think it's important, right? Can direct
Okay.
grant funds be used to pay an owner of the cannabis business to do contracting or consulting budgeted in the grant as long as that owner is not married or related to the LEAP grantee? So I do find this a little confusing because I'm assuming that in this question, the owner is not the LEAP eligible applicant, right? So let's frame it this way. If you are the direct grant awardee, you cannot use direct grant funds to pay yourself to conduct the contracting work for your capital improvement, right? If you're the awardee, you cannot pay yourself to consult on behalf of your commercial cannabis business. If you are Paula, who's the awardee, and Paula wants to, and we've approved it in her budget and her scope, she wants to hire Kristen, me, right? We aren't related. We aren't in a business partnership. We don't both own, right, the business together. She can, once approved, pay a third party independent individual for consulting or contracting once it's approved by the department and the other reviewers at the county level. But really, your contractors, your consulting needs to be third-party independent. I think that's the easiest way to kind of frame this response.
And really, the only thing I would add to that, Kristen, is you will go through a budget approval process. Many of you have already gone through a budget approval process. And if there's a problem, it will get flagged and you will have the opportunity to revise your budget. Right? So if you have a question, present it to us and we'll get you the feedback and you will know whether or not it's appropriate. Okay?
Yep. Okay, so we're at 5 o'clock. And so I apologize. I know we just had another hand go up. We aren't going to be able to take more questions or comments. But we want to thank everyone for joining us. And I just want to remind people that as we go into the new year, we wish you a very happy holiday, and we'll be continuing to host monthly meetings in 2023. It will still be the third Wednesday of each month from 3:30 to 5. So a little consistency, and stay safe out there and really enjoy this holiday season and hopefully get some nice rest and relaxation in. So, okay. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Happy holidays.